two special guests. The one that we're going to be talking to. Actually, four special guests. Sorry. One special guest that we're going to be talking to is local artist named Two Brown.
Hey, what's up?
Yeah, man. We have some stuff we want to share with you. Before we kind of get into some of the questions, I mean, I don't know, man, how long? I mean, we didn't really say this on here, but how long have you been making music, man?
Man, I've been making music, man. Me and a friend in Houston were just talking about this. Probably over 15 years, man. Been in gospel, hip hop, and ministry.
Mainly, it's been hip hop that whole time.
It's been hip hop that whole time, man.
Cool, man. And so how'd you get into music, and then specifically into hip hop in the first place?
Well, into music, man. My parents had gospel albums playing all the time when I was a kid, and they had a PA system in the house. And so I used to grab that PA system, man, and just tear it up and sing the gospel songs that were playing on the records. Family members would come over, and I'd put on concerts for them, man. Me and my sisters would get in our rooms, and we'd just do our own concerts in front of each other, man, all Saturday long. That's what we do for fun, man, on Saturdays. Sister Veronica loved doing the same thing, yeah.
And were you writing rhymes back then, or you were doing?
Man, that was like rock music back then, man. I was just probably like 10 or 11 years old, man, doing that. I didn't get into rap later until I was actually, I would say elementary. Kids used to have beatbox contests, freestyle contests, and then up until middle school is when I really started getting interested in the rap game and things like that, yeah.
And what were some of those factors that got you even more interested in at that age?
Well, that was the culture of where I lived, man. I grew up in Houston, Texas, and that was just the culture of Houston and the school kids. We were all into, they were into Public Enemy back then, MC Hammer, Third Base, Beastie Boys. You know, that's what was out back then, man. And so it was just the culture of what I grew up in. But as far as gospel hip hop, we moved to Corpus, and man, my parents got me out of Houston just to save me from the streets, man, because I was just headed the wrong way. And so they moved out here, man. God moved them out here and had plans for them, man. And when they moved here, I went back to Houston, man, just being rebellious, and I was on the streets for like 3 or 4 years, man, just hanging out and running the streets. And my mom, they were having an outreach here with their church, Family Life Outreach Church, their pastors here. And they invited a guy named E-Rock that was with Word Records back in the day. And they asked him to come to a concert. He knew my sister, and my sister, they kind of just networked and brought him down to Corpus Christi. And my parents said, hey, we're having this rapper come down. And E-Rock used to dance with Vanilla Ice. He got saved and was also discipled and recorded by a guy named Tim Miner. And so he started with Word Records, man, and he just exploded gospel hip-hop on the scene. My parents said, hey, we're having him, and he needs some dancers. They kind of fooled me into coming down, man, thinking I was going to start traveling with him and dancing with him, because that was my thing too, man. I love dancing. And so I came down, man, and saw E-Rock perform. It was blown, man. I'd never seen a Christian concert like the way E-Rock popped it off, man. And that night, man, I was just turned on to Christian rap, man, and the Lord put it in my heart. I felt like I could do that. And eventually I started traveling with E-Rock, to make a long story short, and E-Rock started letting me open it up for him. I got into gospel hip-hop. I gave my life to the Lord, man, and just God used E-Rock. He used that outreach ministry of gospel hip-hop to reach me. And that's what I'm doing now.
That's really cool, man. That's encouraging. So would you say that you were a believer before then, or like it was through that whole thing that you decided to start following the Lord?
Well, I was raised in a Christian home, man, Spirit-filled Christian home, and as a kid, I was on fire for God, man, and I went to mission trips with my parents. God was my best friend. Jesus was my best friend, man, and I was the only boy in my family with 3 girls, and I played a lot by myself and also with my sisters, but being the only boy, man, I used to talk to Jesus, man, and I used to sing a lot of gospel music around the house, because that's what my mom played, and I loved Jesus. He was my best friend, and it's when I grew up into the teenage years, man, I started just wondering, well, what else is there other than this? And my dad used to pray for me, and you can read it in my bio, man. So it's a lengthy bio about my life, but my dad would pray for me when I was a kid and said, Lord, I just ask that Johnny do your will all the days of his life. And my dad would say that over and over again every night. And one day I was thinking, I was like, well, what about my will? Why do I have to do his will all the time? And I think it's just that natural sinful nature that man's born with. That's just the flesh and carnal nature that wonders those things, especially as a kid, you know. And so, but one thing that my mom says, the Holy Spirit's inside of you, and you can't never run from God. And that was so true. That seed that my parents planted as a kid, man, it ran with me even when I was running on the streets. It bothered me. It talked to me. It urged me on, man, to come back to the things of God. And God used E-Rock, man, in his ministry of hip-hop rap outreach to reach me, man, and just stir up the waters of what my parents already planted in me as a kid. And I had done a lot of things with my parents in ministry as a kid, man. And so, yeah, that's how I got into gospel rap music.
That's really cool, man. It's really encouraging, especially knowing what guys been doing around here within that genre with the guys, and then we got a big show coming. I mean, we were talking a little bit about it before. We got a big show coming up next Friday. For those of you that haven't heard, real quick, jump in real quick. Southern Lights Tour, Alex Faith, Dre Murray, Reconcile, Corey Paul, 520. It's gonna be a great show, man. And yeah, if you're thinking about coming out, bring somebody along. I mean, like from just hearing what Two Brown says, I mean, you never know that it's gonna connect with somebody. I was talking with a friend, and we were just kind of talking about, I guess, hip hop ministry in a sense, and just the idea of hip hop almost kind of being its own language or something.
That's right,
and it was like we were talking about how I could relate to somebody who maybe wouldn't relate to just coming to something else, or they wouldn't even go to something else. Maybe you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I was reading Lecrae's. I was reading an article on Lecrae earlier, man. And that's one thing that got Lecrae coming to the Lord. He went to a church and saw people that looked like him, and he's like, well, I didn't think people that look like me go to church. And that won him over, and he started attending Bible study and going to church, and God transformed his life. And when I saw E-Rock and the guys dancing, man, I said, man, they're doing things that I like to do. We can do this. And it attracted me, man. And I believe that this concert you're going to have, and I want to encourage y'all out there to tap into this show that's coming up with Alex Faith. You can pull up Alex Faith on YouTube and hear some of his music there. Bring your young people. Bring that son or daughter that you've been believing for. Maybe that neighbor or those kids that God has put you in their life that you've been believing for. Our young people, bring them to this concert. I believe that God has something in store for them, and he's going to transform lives. And I just want to thank Marco for promoting gospel hip-hop in South Texas. And I believe that you're reaching people that other people cannot reach, Marco. And thanks for being obedient to the Lord, man, in that area.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I just thank God that he's opened up these opportunities, and even this radio station is such a blessing. And yeah, man, let's go ahead and we're gonna come back with Two Brown. I know he has a single that he wants to play for you guys in a little bit, but we're gonna play some music. We're talking about Houston. We're talking about the concert. We're gonna go ahead and jump into "Welcome to H-Town" by Dre Murray and featuring Lecrae, and then we got another song from Dre Murray. But yeah, stick with us. Talking with Two Brown. We're gonna hear some more about his ministry and about his music.